process.
The bad punch.
It has been punched. What's going on, gang? Friends? I don't know. Whatever you want to call yourselves. It's Ox, Luke, coming at you talking about all the fun things. This week we watched Hurricane Heist, Tomb Raider, Love, Simon, and the second half of Jessica Jones Season 2, as well as, did you get caught up on Alienist, Black Lightning, and then we watched Legion, of course.
I got caught up on Black Lightning.
Nice. Let's start there. What did you think of Black Lightning now that you caught up?
I felt there's a little bit of it kind of got it lost focus for a couple episodes, but I feel like in this last one, it's came back in, and kind of set up where they're going for the last 4 episodes or so. I like that. I mean, as of right now, it could come back to bite it, but I like that the show just keeps growing. By the end of this last episode, all of a sudden it's like the government's been trying to they're like drugging this whole town as a pacifying experiment on lower income black communities, and then there's all these shady government agents coming in to kill people, and it's like,
yeah,
okay,
yeah. To speak on what you just hit on, like a couple episodes ago, it felt like it was just getting very it seemed like they were just loading the shotgun, hoping and spraying. But then last episode and this episode is it really came into focus, and has me excited all over again for it. Especially with the daughters coming into play. I think that's just a cool. You don't see any superhero teams that are families. Besides the Incredibles, but I think.
Have you forgotten all about those 3 Fantastic Four movies we had?
You mean all 3 Fantastic Four movies?
Yes, that's exactly what I meant.
No, I have not. But really great.
It's interesting that you like this show that's so family based, as opposed to when you hated The Gifted for what it was doing kind of close to the same stuff.
But with The Gifted, they were not using their powers. Where this started there, and now the girls themselves are learning how to use their powers, and Black Lightning's almost getting reckless and dangerous with his powers. It's also interesting to see how they're trying to frame him for murder. That's the point where I was like, you got to get caught up, because I really want to talk about this, is because I figured they had found a way to duplicate his powers with this vaccine, or the I can't think of what the drug's called, but
Green Light?
I thought that the Green Light, yeah. I thought that was replicating his powers so other people were going to be Green Lightning, but it turns out that was just I think that's a kind of an enhancer type thing to kind of like the mutant thing where it unlocks if you have it type of deal.
Oh no. Yeah, no, it's interesting, the idea that they were using essentially the base formula for this drug as, like I said, a way to an experiment to see if they could pacify these urban neighborhoods, and as a side effect, people were born inherited powers from it, but they don't know how. So now, instead of a pacifying element, they've taken the base of that and turned into a highly addictive drug to put into these urban neighborhoods. To obviously they're going to get the people on the drug addicted and make money off of it, and maybe benefit from figuring out how these people are getting powers as well. So it's interesting to see, that it's like the idea of, the government created crack cocaine to bring the black person down, like that conspiracy theory. And in this way of like, we've introduced this drug and we're going to like take down this element of society that we don't agree with, also while trying to benefit in a weird pseudoscience way. It's interesting.
Also, another point is where Gamby, the tailor, is tied up in all of this, except I figured that was going to be stretched out a couple more episodes, and like this episode, like they found out and he pretty much came clean. For the most part, I guess. I think there's still more that he has to talk about. I'm sure it's going to be lost in transition of these two episodes, but yeah, it's doing everything Gifted should have done from the get-go, which is really strange. Because yeah, I mean the family element was the hard part I was having with the Gifted, and now this, because I guess the dad was supposed to have powers, but he was stripped of them, for any better words to use for that. But like, these kids haven't had anybody to teach them how to use their powers until they found the other mutants, and they're so far entrenched in this war that they don't really have time to hone their powers. Like, they're just ready, fire, aim type of deal. So,
man, whatever. There was a whole episode where Polaris was throwing hammers at him and stuff. That was training.
Well, that's because Polaris has been fucking in the thick of it for years or so at this point. But like, she's telling all those kids that don't know how to use their powers to be like, yeah, you're probably gonna have to kill people. So get in touch with that.
Yeah.
Where like this episode, the dad was like, "You're gonna kill some people. That's probably gonna happen. So you gotta kind of deal with that."
I also, the one thing I did think was weird in this episode, where like he's like, "We need to clear Black Lightning name. It's the only way." And like, "Hey, we found the gun that they used to replicate my powers," and then it just blows up and all the evidence is gone. But he's like, "It's kind of cool because my daughter saved my life." I was like, "But you're still on the hook for all these murders."
Yeah. So, yeah, digging it. 4 episodes to go, so it'd be interesting to see how it wraps up, because I'm really interested. Like, I really think this is going to be a knockout for them. So,
yeah.
There's some problems, but not big enough to make me worry about it like Gifted was. So.
Yeah, no, like every show, especially in like that first season, struggles to figure out how to tell the story over the amount of time they have. So you kind of get lost in the weeds at times, and that's all I attribute. I didn't not like any of those episodes, but it just kind of, it was like taking weird digressions. Like he lost his powers, but then they were fine the next episode. It was just like, we just had to tinker with their suit a little. Oh, okay.
Also, there's like so much random stuff that's thrown at the wall too, that like Lala's back out of nowhere, and he has a witch living inside him somehow or something. I don't know what that whole thing is about.
Don't know,
we haven't
but
seen
whatever.
Tobias for this episode, so
yeah, he kind of like, he got shocked by Black Lightning and then disappeared for an episode and a half.
Yeah.
No, he was in this episode, wasn't
but he? But they like. I think they showed him in the preview that he was choking out Lala.
Well, wasn't he in the beginning of this last episode when he was having like that cage fight with that big black guy?
Oh, no, that was last episode.
I watched them all back to back, so.
Where yeah, he's like the black dude got up and he's like finally in some competition and then beats shit out of him some more.
Yeah, he's in his nice, he fights in his nice silk robes. He's at a goddamn mall karate tournament.
It's true. It's true. So it's Black Lightning. You should get caught up if you haven't because it's awesome. Alienist, you said you didn't watch any then?
No, I didn't get caught up on that yet.
All right. So then we can talk about how fucking great Legion is still. This show keeps fucking setting my expectations to unreal levels. Like, I don't understand how it keeps getting better and better.
It's crazy, right? It's so good.
It really is. Like, I have no problem texting you at this point because, like, I think you realize that I'm incapable of not loving the show at this point. That, like, it's the mindfuck of the show as a whole that I'm loving talking about.
Yeah.
And, like, this episode is no different. And with Black Lightning, you have this overarching thing where not every episode's a knock out of the park, and like they're trying to obtain this whole over season arc. But honestly, with Legion, you can go in and watch an episode because they're all so different and all like every one of them has a beginning, middle, and end of like this little section of trying to figure out what all this is.
Yeah. So I guess in this episode, there's two big scenes.
In case you're one.
What?
Episode 5. In case anybody was out there.
There's two big like centerpiece scenes in this episode. That I'm curious to which one you liked more. Was it David's attack on D3, or was it the silent horror film at the end?
Before even that, like 2 minutes into this episode, when he's sitting on the dock and he just whispers into his ears, he's like, "I'm the magic man." I was like, I am so turned on right now. And like I almost texted you that and like put it on Twitter. I was like, if you come up and whisper you're the magic man in my ear, I'm not liable for whatever happens next. And to see how that progressed through the episode, like, whew. Like, I wish I hadn't put that on the world, but also I'm very glad that I did. Because I'm not sure I would have been able to make the same statement at the end of the episode, but, like, god damn.
Yeah, well, like, right there, like, at the beginning, like, you can tell something's off. It's not the David we're used to. He's a lot more
cocksure. Can you? Because I didn't have any fucking clue. I didn't have one single clue. I was like, oh shit. He figured out his powers. He figured out what all this is. Let's fucking roll the dice. Like, let's fucking save the world. Basically, I'm fucking here. And he knows magic, so we're good.
He's magic.
What a fucking mindfuck.
But, like, if you pay attention, like, he's a lot more brash and cocksure and, like, very glib and sassy. So, like, just immediately something feels off about it. And by the end, you realize, like, yeah, how much of what you're seeing was David and how much of it he was pacified by Lenny, you know?
See, and this is what's great about this show is because there's immediately rewatchability because I think you miss so much that, like, you almost have to rewatch it. That, like, all those little notes, like, they got halfway through the episode before I realized it wasn't the main personality that we have seen up to this point. And, like, when you realize that he had this strut about his walk and everything else, it's like, oh, shit. Things are really going down.
Yeah, and you get that, like, just that, I love that, like, his mannerisms and everything during, like, when they're watching the video feeds of his attack on the installation, and he's just like, jogging at him and like whispering to the camera and shit. Just he's like joyous because it's not David. It's the entity inside of him that's for once.
We get this cool moment where Carrie rejoins with Carrie, and like when they brought her back because he would just put himself in too much danger, but to the point where she actually gained consciousness and then absorbed her to take on her ailments, I guess. Yeah, and then the silent section was just a fucking pure insanity, pure lovely insanity.
Yeah, there's so much of it in this episode.
There was I thought you meant when Sid and him went back to his mind, and then I realized there's another 10 minutes beforehand. It's insanity. To what we were saying last week is to where you don't know which one of his personalities is in control, or if you're in his world, and they realized all of this along the way too, and it's like, shit is getting so goddamn real. Yeah. At this point, I have no idea where it's going for the next 3 episodes because they rescued her sister and oh my god, this damn show.
Also, we'll touch base because we still have 3 episodes left, obviously, but at this point, you have to be on board that Aubrey Plaza was the greatest thing ever in the show, right?
I have no this just is a testament to this goddamn show. I don't understand how the characters I already keep elevating it even more. Even the side characters that I didn't think were going to be a big deal, at this point I'm so attached to that. If I don't want anybody to befall harm, but like Carrie said this episode, of course there's going to be a fight. So I'm anxious and excited all at the same time. This feels like we were watching American Gods, but even more excited than that. Because we were going into those episodes kind of aware that it was just going to be a ridiculous ride. And then with this one, you're anticipating how excited I am to enjoy the show because you've watched it 3 points of this time, and I'm so excited to rewatch this season, but I'm so excited to go into the second season with not knowing anything. So
yeah, it's good. It's so good.
And it's like we were saying last week, how it is showing the best parts of these other stories, like Inception, the inside the head type stuff, paired with all the mutant stuff that I want to see, and the split personalities, and the confirmation that he is schizophrenic, but these different entity that lives inside him that they don't know what is, fucking A.
It's good. Good stuff.
It's real fucking good. If you aren't watching Legion at this point, you need to be.
Yeah, welcome to what I was saying to you a year ago.
I completely agree. I dropped the ball in this one, and I had no idea that something this wonderful existed, and I hate myself for not watching it before this point. But the whole Magic Man issue, when him and Sid go into his mind, and they're able to be together. And then she is actually pulling him into his mind as well. And then finally sees the yellow-eyed demon devil.
Yeah, when he has to fucking be all sad and play the Rainbow Connection.
Oh my god! It's maddening. I found myself holding my breath a few times, especially during that silent. Like I'm like, I don't want this horror tone, like the scary movie jump scare setup. Like, not excited about that part, but at the same time, I'm so thrilled to be able to get to the next point. Like, because I have no idea at this point where the story is going, what it means, if any of it's real. Like, fucking crazy. And I love that the other side characters were like, no, he walked away. Fuck him. Like, he's not our problem anymore. And the like lady is like, or he called her out on it and was like, you just wanted to bring your husband back. He's like, no, he's actually super powerful, and we don't need that to fight against. So, oh yeah, good point. And then they show up and everybody's disintegrated or like stuck through buildings. Like, fucking A.
Yeah,
So
it's
good.
really good.
It was so good.
It's so good. Like, yeah, they just roll up and there's like 15 people just half teleported into fucking the cement, and you're like, okay, shit's getting real.
shit is so far realer than I ever thought was going to happen. So yeah, let's party. Also, it was interesting to see that they left the one dude behind. It seemed like he was a setup kind of mole type person, like a V from Vendetta type scenario, where he was put there to try and get information from her, like as a prisoner. Do we see any more of him?
No.
Okay. Yeah, that's the only question I had, because I didn't. It didn't seem like they had given him enough to worry about him later down the road. So, I mean, if he popped up, it would have been anything but. And then back to the Magic Man issue. Like, at the end of the episode, you realize that the Magic Man is the fucking yellow-eyed devil that has basically taken him over at this point, and is like, he wants to fight it, but he knows he can't, and it's like, oh, well, fuck. But I mean, he's super powerful. But you don't know. You don't know if it's David that's powerful or this entity that's powerful, but that's been leeching off of his powers. But
it's okay, because Carrie made him a fucking headpiece. It's gonna be fine.
Oh man, I loved it when Carrie showed up, and like they're trying to tell each other what they need to know, but nobody can hear anything, so it's just a mindfuck. And then he switches to the other Carrie that is ready to fucking protect and save their asses, I guess. So,
plus, not only all that, but then you also have the fucking creepy ass guy from D23 followed after him too, and burst in with a machine gun and just started blowing him away.
Also, you find out that David was adopted. He has kind of put his sister in a comatose state, I guess. But like, fucking A. I'm so excited to watch the next episode.
Yeah. It's so good.
But I also wait till next Monday, so it's like the freshest thing in my mind. So look forward to those texts next week.
I do think we have to do 2 episodes for next week, though.
Do we? What day does Legion return then?
The 3rd.
Oh shit. Yeah, so we do 2 next week, and then the final one for that one, and then it's back that next day. So
yeah,
we do the first one for the 9th. Okay. So we'll do 6 and 7 for next week.
Yep.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
More Legion only makes me happier. So yeah, that's Legion. Go watch it and get caught up and enjoy the masterpiece that has become that show.
Yes, enjoy. It's so good.
Like this, it feels like this is ruining me for any other mutant anything. Because this is such a mindfuck and so fun.
So you're saying you're not excited for Dark Phoenix? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm sure that'll be just as much of a shit show with a terrible plotline. So it'll be interesting to see that train ran into the ground for the third time.
It's the second. Come on.
I thought they did another. Oh, they just showed her off in Apocalypse. Okay. We'll see. So on to the movies, I suppose. Did you watch the Love, Simon as well?
No.
Okay. So I'll start there. What an incredible, endearing movie. This movie was just a good, heartfelt, one, I'm glad social media was not a huge aspect when we were in school. It started getting there, but we didn't have phones or anything to communicate that heavily. But Jesus Christ, you see that with it's also a weird dilemma because a couple of the characters are on 13 Reasons Why.
Yeah.
And you have a couple moments where the lead actress that killed herself in the first season of 13 Reasons, she has a couple moments that don't worry, it's gonna get better. And it's I'm not sure you're allowed to make that statement. So but yeah, it's just really it shows the chaos that moment in time is, the end of high school and ready to get out of this school system that you've been stuck in for 12 years plus whatever, and leave everything behind, but also realizing that you're not ready and you have no idea what's going to happen next. It captured that really well. And then as a twist, it threw in this whole social media side where people were having their secrets exposed, and at some point this gay kid gets blackmailed into somebody knows that he's gay and he doesn't want to be out yet, so they blackmail him into helping their friend hook up with one of their other friends, which leads to its own very problematic situation amongst all the friends. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. Caught me off guard because it did a really great job of throwing you off the scent of what you figured anything was going to be, and then when it comes into focus, what it should have been all along. You kind of just oh, I got you now. I'm here. Let's party. So, yeah, just a really lovely movie. I highly suggest it. It was just fun. It was just a nice, lighthearted comedy. There's a couple heartbreaking moments, but it brings it back together and pieces it into one whole piece again at the end. So,
fair.
Highly suggest it if you are looking for a random movie. So moving from there, how great was Hurricane Heist?
It wasn't.
What? I had so much
wasn't.
Goddamn fun with this movie.
No, it wasn't bad enough to be good. It was bad.
Really? I had some fun with it. It was kind of a mess for sure. I think if they ironed out a few pieces, it would have been a lot better. But it wasn't the mess that Geostorm was.
No, yeah, but at least there was a hurricane in this movie.
Yeah, everything felt grounded and reasonable.
What?
Moderately reasonable. I'll give you that.
Listen, when they're when the dude's just okay, I gotta go out there and climb to the top of this roof and then climb to the top of the tower. in 150-mile-an-hour winds, but it's going to be absolutely fine. It's like,
Makes
bitch,
sense.
I've been in like 20-mile-an-hour winds about knocked over.
Listen, he had to do it. There was no other way. They was going to get all that money.
Also,
which they ended up.
because at first, like, in that first scene, when, like, the hurricane clouds become a giant imposing skull to scare the children, I was like, what are we doing?
That was the best. I was like,
maybe we're gonna get like a sentient storm. Like, maybe we're gonna go crazy, and they don't.
But it reappears at the end, and I was like, thanks for that little nod again.
But no, and like the whole fact that it is insane, I guess, to think that like the whole time they're like, we had this perfect heist planned. We just had to wait for a hurricane to come. And like, you know, even like the standoff with the cops and the chiefs is like, I was just waiting for this goddamn hurricane to come so we could do this heist. And it's like, what the hell's going on?
Yeah, it felt a little awkward when at the beginning of the movie where he was just evacuating everybody and they didn't think it was going to be that bad. But the meteorologist was like, it was something we're not expecting. I was like, all right, let's party.
No, the meteorologist converses with the storm. He's like, they're underestimating you. I know what's coming, girl. I'm also very afraid because you killed my father. It's such a weird fucking movie.
Yeah, for sure. I figured his brother was going to be like the ringleader of the heist, and I guess they turned out to be the good guys. To the point where you have the 3 semi race at the end, like.
And also, so like, again, I'm not a meteorologist like Willie is in this movie, but like the hurricane works like that, where it's just like, I understand like the eye is the calm spot, but like the wall where like it's hitting our trailer and that's fucked, but we're in the cab, so it's fine. Like, I think like those 3 feet aren't really gonna make a big fucking difference.
I mean, it's not a big fucking billboard and fucking full of paper money, so at least I mean the cabin engine would have a lot more heft to it than the trailer would, so I can see it just ripping apart like that.
It's weird.
So
it's odd. It's not. It's really just kind of flat, and like literally the whole hurricane is just like there's some rain. That's the whole point of the hurricane. Like,
yeah, but did you see that sweet hubcap kill?
Yeah, I needed more of shit like that. Is what I needed more of. Instead of like these weird inconsistencies where like this giant wave comes in and they're all almost drowning, and a guy literally gets out of the truck that is like up to the door almost in water, and then the next shot of him, it's ankle deep, yet someone's floating by in a raft. It's just fucking ridiculously weird inconsistencies.
The setup to lure him to the shopping mall and to get sucked out the roof, like if a little things were tweaked, I think this would be a great movie. Good to slash
I think
great.
it'd be a really bad movie that's entertaining if it switched things up a little.
Yeah.
But like, it's weird. And also, I had a really big problem with like our shredder went offline, so we need to get these 2 fucking hackers in here. But then but then the girl comes in dressed as someone who's going to be fixing a shrilly there to do a heist in like a fucking cocktail dress and high heels, and I was like, what the hell is going on?
It didn't make any sense in the best ways. It was so much fun.
And you know what? Like, he didn't turn into a werepanther, so I was a little disappointed.
I was waiting for it. After we saw the first skull in the storm, I was like, you know what? Anything's possible. I'm ready for it. So.
And what the hell? Their dad deserved to die. I don't care. Like, we're in a hurricane.
Yeah, there's no reason that would have been Heist under just having one rock under the goddamn.
Plus, he's like,
shit out of the...
I know we're in a fucking hurricane, but I really need to get that truck on the road, so I'll be back, kids.
A little mess. Never hurt anybody.
But it could have been it could have been fun. Like, if it was just, I don't know, it feels like someone was halfway in on the joke, but like someone else wasn't, and like the two, they just kind of hit, and you don't go one way or the other.
That's fair. I feel like that's the most correct assessment.
Like, I feel like maybe like the writer knew that he was writing trash, but like the director was like, I did Fast and the Furious, I can make this good. And you're like, no, like, fuck off. Just make it dumb. And literally, like,
they should have.
They go into this Federal Reserve building with fucking trank darts. They trank everybody until the one person shows up that they need and like pull out the semi-automatic weapons with real bullets. We're fucking just shooting at her. And it's like, you just said you need her. Like, why are we trying to kill her? It's really weird.
It's true. So yeah, I feel like it's just a decent popcorn movie. If you're given a choice between Geostorm, Death Wish, and this movie, I'd pick this one.
Yeah, but I would also say don't see any of them.
That's fair. I think if you're excited about this movie, you'll have a good time. I think you didn't want to see it necessarily, but I was like, we gotta see this movie. So.
Yeah, but like, I don't know. There's nothing about it that, like, it's like a step and a half above like what I would see on Sci-Fi. Like, it's just so like, it's so lame.
This one, it feels like it beat out the Dimension Extreme tag by like just enough to push it to theaters.
It's just, give me more fucking hurling hubcaps into gale force winds to kill people, and like, I might have been in on this movie.
Right on. But I mean, at least the Dominator survived.
Did it? It was drowned.
Yeah, I mean, it was just he could be saved. It was airtight, buddy.
But then the eye wall came over and hit it. Who knows what happened?
If I know the Dominator, it survived. Because Hurricane Heist 2 will have 2 of them.
There will not be a Hurricane Heist 2.
Oh man, I hope there is. I hope it gets greenlit by some random chance. And this time they're in Texas because that's where that guy moved, and like now it's coming into the Gulf, and that superheats them.
Yes.
And that makes Hurricane F7, and then it ties into the Fast and Furious series. This is where we're leading to, and that's how they get to space.
They get thrown up by a giant hurricane.
Bingo. Fast and Furious 9. Coming for you. So Tomb Raider, how'd you like it?
Also bad.
I didn't mind it. It felt clunky, but yeah. I think that's just because like it was trying to be two things instead of just being the one thing. Like very much like the Hurricane Heist.
It was trying to be like a million things. Like,
well, yeah.
And it doesn't give enough time to breathe to any of them, and that's fine because this movie is too long already. Excuse me. But like, you spend like 20 minutes finding out who she is, and then like trying to get to where she thought her dad went. And then when you get there, it's like, now we're going to kick out 20 minutes of the action scenes and get those out of the way immediately. And then we're going to end with 20 minutes of some Tomb Raiding. And it's like, fucking figure out what you want to do with this, and then we'll go from there. Because, like, everything just moves to... There's no...
It is... When it has a chance to run, it goes full force until it hits a wall. And, like, at the point when it takes off is too late for it to take off. So you're immediately, like, trying to catch up with it. And, like, it just never gains traction because you're in it constantly, like, oh, we're relaxing. Oh, we're relaxing. And it's like, it's a mess, but...
It is a mess, yes.
For the first Tomb Raider movie in a decade, that's all right.
It's going to be the last one for a decade.
No way. I bet you they pushed that second one through so fast now.
Who wants it, really?
I think it did a good job of showing off the rebooted Tomb Raider. There were definitely scenes that felt cinematic, like the I'm trying to think where the button mashing moments, like God of War, like where you press a button and like an action happens. Like there were a few things like that. We're getting closer to a good video game movie, but we're still a ways off.
As at this point, it's like we don't need one. As video games evolve as a medium, they're becoming this stellar way of telling a different sort of narrative. So I don't think we need these like adaptations because we can get what we need there. Because the games will always work better because even if whether you're playing like just a fucking random RPG or an MMO or something that's heavily narrative, you are controlling that character, so you become attached to them in a way that you don't get through a cinematic experience. You feel more for that character if the game's doing it right because you've imprinted in a way upon it. So stuff like, you know, that the movie tries to do, like, you know, like at the beginning of the island stuff, you kind of like, it feels like, okay, it reminded me of like, they're trying to do like a Die Hard thing where McClane felt kind of real because like you see his wounds and you like see him get beat up and he's not a superhero. Whereas this, it kind of does it for like one scene and then drives it away. It's, you know, it's just like, oh, I've been fucking impaled and my dad sewed me up, so now I'm fine. But the problem, like one of the problems with this is the same in the game as there's this narrative dissonance of like, lore, and it's the exact same in that first person she kills, like it's there's a weight on it, you know, like it fucks with her, and then the next scene she's just murking people with arrows, like
just murdering everyone with arrows. Like it was just a ridiculous scene.
So there's that dissonance between like what you're trying to tell as a story versus what you're trying to accomplish. In a game, it's more forgiving because it's a game. You have to do something, but like you could have done something different with the action scenes. I don't know. It's weird. Point, like there's stuff that'd be like cool to maybe see adapted because there's some really cool ideas in games. Like, but at this point, the game can.
I think at this point, like, yeah, the games have their own cinematic modes that, like, I think once you get through the movie or get through the game, you can just watch all the cinematic like portions to it, like a movie. So,
but even that, there's stuff within a game, the way they do subtle environmental storytelling and stuff that you can't really. Well, you can, but most movies aren't so adept at that. But it's also the same as the difference between like a TV show and a movie. Like you have a lot more time to invest with these game narratives. Whereas I don't know. I just think it's give up the ghost. It's time. Like
yeah. You telling me you didn't like the puzzle solving?
That I literally didn't even understand how she was solving any of these puzzles.
The one where she was hanging off the door and she's just like, I need colored stones, so throw them all to me.
Yeah, and everyone's just throwing
like, oh yeah, we're all gonna die because here's fucking whatever you need.
Yeah, you mean when she's hanging on the door and Lily goes, it's a color puzzle? And I'm like, what the fuck does that even mean?
Smoke and mirrors, man. Smoke and mirrors.
And also, like, I don't even understand, like, how did the black guy get infected to infect McNulty? Like,
I figured he had like touched the body barely, like when it jumped up. Or I really don't know. I'm not gonna see it again to figure it out.
No, because it infected the one guy who like immediately dies, but as he's going in his death throes, he shoots the black guy, and like 10 minutes later, the black guy's like, I'm infected, and then all of a sudden her dad's infected too.
Yeah, it makes perfect logical sense.
And also, like, at this point, you could have just kicked Walton Goggins into the fucking pit. Like, instead of risking this, like, what if you had shoved that finger in his mouth and then kicked him, and when he bit down, it spit into your face? Like, you could have died too. Like,
yeah, that's real.
Just kick him into the fucking goddamn pit and be done with it.
But also, you could totally dissolve this whole hierarchy of corporation because you own it all. What a mess.
And also, like, when they free all the slaves, and he's like, I need to wait for Laura, and they go through that whole tomb sequence, I was like, that dude just hanging out for like 4 hours, just being like, I'm just waiting. She's gonna come eventually.
She's gotta. I mean, they opened that tomb and stuff for Raiden. So yeah, I don't see that. As much as I don't want to shit on movies, it's kind of a mess. It's too much of a mess to enjoy.
Yeah.
So how did you like the second half of Jessica Jones then?
Well, that's an interesting question.
I enjoyed it.
I think the second half is easier to watch. I think compared to like, it's the inverse of most Netflix shows where like they start off strong and then struggle in the back half. This one was like really slow in the front and then sped up in the back, but they're still so kind of, it's very sloppy in storytelling that I don't know. Jessica's good most of the time.
For the first half, I never gave a shit about Trinity, Jerry, whatever you want to call her, in her ALS. But like, as soon as we got into the second half, like, I was more attached to her for some reason. Like, I felt for her and her plight, I guess. Also, it just felt like she was getting taken.
Well, like, the problem with it is that her arc is the most defined and understandable arc in this entire season. The problem is you can just go like this and throw it to the side because it means nothing, you know? It has the same problem that a show like Dexter did, where that the main story is this character, the main character, but you can't overload the actor, so we need to go do some bullshit with these side characters that no one really cares about.
Which I think they evened it out for the second half, where that first half it felt very much it was 25% amongst the four mains, I guess, but like it felt much more shifted towards Jessica for the second half. The seeing her past with her mother and like going back to when she was made. It also walks a very fine line of, do I give a shit about mutants because she was made, and she's not quote unquote special. Also, I just don't give a shit about Trish anymore. But like they keep harking on her, and like she was easily the worst part of this whole season. I really dig what they did with Malcolm, though. I think that was awesome that he was able to get himself clear of their messes and goes on. I think it was also awesome to see that Jessica has found relief and starting over and going from the first step and trying to find something better. So
yeah, but like there's just a bunch of horse shit around it that like there's a lot of curious decisions throughout this whole season. I'm not gonna say bad. I don't want to be the fucking I'm harping on everything all the time. But like let's start one. Why did we spend so much time with Trish's boyfriend who amounted to nothing and never came back through the back half of the season?
That was the biggest thing I had, is because like it was set up to like somebody was scheming behind her back and then she just cut you loose, so fuck you, we don't care about you anymore.
Just like we spent 6 episodes with that dude before they were just like, yeah, he's just gone. I'm like, what about that intrigue? He was putting a fucking zip drive into her fucking computer and talking shady on the phone. What? Oh, nothing? Thanks for wasting my time with that show. 2, there is a lot of inconsistencies with the way they portrayed Jessica's mom. When you go back and you think about like that first half where like it was like this relentless killer coming after these people and trying to murder them. And then you get to when she's introduced, it's like, I have rage problems and sometimes I lose control. Well, you just spent 6 episodes telling me it was a fucking like superpowered assassin coming after these people, not just a mom. And also, I don't buy that, like, at no point did it really seem like Trish was talking about any of this stuff. It seemed like she was working behind the scenes and wanting to do it, but at what point was she doing so much that like this person had to break out of her fucking safety room to come to New York to murder people? Like it's really disassociated. It doesn't really work. The flashback episode is something I hate so much because it obviously was made after we've established what these characters are. At no point do I believe that Jessica was so into this guy that like all of her behaviors and attitudes stem from him, and she named her fucking business after him. But there's never
you
been
didn't buy that. I was
him.
all right with that.
I don't buy it that it would never have come up ever. Yeah. After all, you spend the entirety of the first season, she's talking about how fucked up she is. She lost her family. Kilgrave did this. There's no point in being like, oh, and my boyfriend was murdered in an alley who I seriously loved and wanted to be with. Like, it's this retconning.
But it was that first relationship she was like getting out on her own and like of course, there's going to be more emotional weight with that. I think the whole Alias thing was a cool nod, showing how she named her business, whatever. Um, it instilled a sense that she was very wary about relationships because of this happening. Like, she had
Yeah,
tried
I
to save
understand that.
him, but like shit just happened and went awry, and then she found out that her mom did it, and she just punched her in the face.
It's dumb. And like that's something I get like the ideas the show is trying to present. Um I feel it's too much of a show and not a realization through characters. You know, it's just kind of like they're just mouthpieces. I don't see
Yeah.
the characters come from these, you know, like they just kind of like this. I'm an
Mhm.
addict. I'm recovering. My mom has mental illness. Like there's no real foresight to in depth to what they're saying.
Yeah,
Um
it does more of exposition. Like, it tells you what the characters are going through rather than doing a good job of showing and like having the problems associated with the person. Like, they're just rather rather than them it being part of the character, it's just something that they're going through, kind of thing.
yeah, and a lot of the times what I'm seeing the characters do and the way that actors and actresses are playing it doesn't really congeal with what the script is trying to say. You know, like it's weird. I don't know. There's such a dissonance to a lot of the storytelling elements. Um
Mhm.
like I think it is insane that they start this season where how we left the first season. No, like she has killed Kilgrave. Like she has crossed that line and murdered. But you still have to have this really bizarre episode where she kills a guy accidentally and then never makes mention of it again. Like, I got it. She's killed before. I don't need her to do it again. And the fucking hoops they jump through to make it seem justified to murder that guy. Like, not only was he the standard go to of like a man abusing power over a woman that Jessica Jones goes to a lot, but he was also a serial killer who like coerced these people into suicide and stuff. And it's like, I didn't like, especially when the idea that she accidentally killed him versus it's much more powerful idea that she willingly made the decision to kill Kilgrave as opposed to this was like, oh, an accident. Like, I get you're trying to
But you
impart
have the
this idea.
first one. You have the first one where she was being controlled. The second kill of Kilgrave where she actually thought about it and made it happen, and then you have this accidental one, and then one she's being framed.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah,
I don't know.
much more easier to watch than Iron Fist was, though.
Yeah, probably. I don't know. Like, this is like, I don't know. Iron Fist was bad. Defenders was bad. This wasn't great. Like, I don't know. I don't know.
Watchable, but I mean, if you're this far into the Netflix shows, I mean, of course you're gonna watch it. So it's all right.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not terrible. I did like the Kilgrave episode. I think it's gonna be that character could be fascinating down the road with like coming into her in her like when she's most exhausted and can't fend it off, like knowing that he'll always be part of her. As what we were saying last week, I think it just works much better. It should be very episodic and like she should be out there solving each mystery, like a mystery an episode, and there should be an over arc. But like she's a PI, just fucking show her solving some cases, which kind of pissed me off too. That she never like So she's in love with the super, but never found dirt on the mother to make him able. I understand why they did that, but I mean, it would have been. I think it would have worked a lot better for him to trust her if she had found dirt to keep him in contact with Vito and able to keep a hold on his side of sharing custody.
Yeah.
But it also would have toted that line of, well, he either has full custody or no custody. So
yeah, it is what it is. I mean, I watched it. For the most part, I was like, hey, Kristen Ritter is really good, but I'm glad she's really good, or this would fall apart really quick. Kind of,
That's very reasonable. So yeah, that's about it.
Yeah.
Watch it. I suppose if you're watching it, watch it, and then tell us what you thought. I think that'll do it. What are we watching for next week?
Good. Oh, Pacific Rim. I know you're real excited.
Yes. So excited.
Unsane. I'm gonna try and catch that. I don't know if it's opening wide, so I just don't know.
Is it a scary movie?
No, it's not a scary movie.
I bet you it is. You're lying to me.
We talked about this. You have to see it because it's Steven Soderbergh, and you love him.
Son of a bitch! That was the one that I was dreading, I suppose. Let's see. Paul, Apostle of Christ, opens this week.
Nope.
That's a heavy no. A heavy no from Luke.
Yeah. And we'll try the first episode of Krypton.
Yay! I'm super not excited about it.
You were the one who's like, we need to put Krypton on there.
Listen, you're the DC guy. I have no loyalty to DC whatsoever.
I don't either, but we'll try it.
I want you to have good things in your life, but
I don't care. I'm fairly 100% sure it's going to be like all the other sci-fi shows where it's just like, we checked out the first episode and we're out.
That's fair. So, Unsane, Pacific Rim, first episode of Krypton, and then a couple episodes of Legion. Right?
Yeah.
There might be another one. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what this weekend brings.
Okay.
So watch all that stuff. I mean, we'll see.
You're gonna go see Paul, Apostle of Christ, aren't you?
And I hope not. I hope I have much better things to do than see that. So, anyway, we'll catch you next week. Peace, pineapple, all that good stuff.
Okay.